You had 6 seconds, sure, but you had a minute to go at that point. And more importantly, there's lots and lots of increment in this. Here we're going to see if we find ourselves in another main lane Caro-Kann. We'll see if Kazuma decides to play the 2 knights Caro-Kann. Here we're going to see a main line. There's the exchange, there's the advance, there's the fantasy. There's this weird line. We're seeing another fantasy variation. Snowpoint had time to research this, but he falls into the same trap! I'm sick of this! Knight back. This is also a move looking for this. Kazuma already has a very decent position. Main moves in this position include c3, bishop e3. There's a lot of moves in this position, I won't lie. Probably play h4, honestly. Like f4. c3 is played. There's no point playing e6 prematurely again. And again, this bishop sucks. It sucks. You could instead play this. And yes, your bishop gets trapped, but that's fine. But come on, man. Bishop f4, a bit of a nothing move, I feel, because c5, look at that, Snowpoint knows he has to make this c5 break if Kazuma takes. He doesn't want to do that, by the way. Then Snowpoint will be in good position after bishop takes pawn back. Right here, it'll be looking good for him. Also important to realize is the potential for queen a5 check from downtown. It's like a drive-by shooting. And yes, he takes. Snowpoint is very happy after this. If knight takes, then that splits the structure. Yeah, so c takes, basically forced. There's a few moves here. Bishop check immediately I'm not so certain about. Parryable by either of these knights, I wouldn't mind seeing knight bc3. And if Snowpoint trades off here, I'm not so certain about where he's going to generate play from. Knight c6 is a much more principled move. Looking to put some pressure here. If Snowpoint can reroute this bishop, I'll be very, very happy. And honestly, Snowpoint castles and h6 also looks great. Alternatively, with a locked center, he can keep his king in the center of the board and just throw these pawns down. This is actually fine for Snowpoint. Do not take this knight. Look to reroute your bishop this way. And this actually drops a pawn this way. Sees it. And you have to be careful, because this pawn is now tender as well. There's actually an incredible move here, g5. The bishop can't take because the queen takes, and if the bishop moves off of this diagonal, this pawn falls. But after g5, there's the move h5, h4, forcing the bishop off of the diagonal and winning this pawn. g3. g3 drops the pawn immediately. g5 here almost certainly wins the game on the spot for Snowpoint. Let's see if Snowpoint finds g5. Again, the center is locked as long as Snowpoint does not, try to do anything too hasty. g5 is a fantastic kill shot. But instead he finds knight c5. Knight c5, not a bad move. Looking to get this bishop, obtain the bishop pair here. But I'm not so certain. Bishop check as this. Something important to note was that actually there was this check. Picks up a knight. But it wasn't found, and bishop d7. Raids. Knight takes. And you can once again redouble this threat. You want to. This is also just a hanging knight. But we'll allow it, I guess. And actually, after bishop back here, this is defended. And Kazuma loses the chance to take a free knight. Did Kazuma accidentally pre-move? Because he just hung his queen. I assume that he's letting the move get repeated, then Snowpoint will allow it. I assume he can just play queen d1 and they'll repeat moves, yeah. Makes sense. Oh, no, never mind. Snowpoint just is... He's going for the kill shot, but not for the actual kill shot. Snowpoint could have taken the queen, but simply chooses not to. Instead takes the rook in the corner. Snowpoint says, sorry, I had Discord closed. The ego on this man. Yeah, there's a few moves. I mean, knight here looking to immediately attack this back. Yeah. Oh, but it's not so simple. There's a few moves here. There's even this. Or this. Lots of moves win here for Snowpoint. G5 doesn't. G5 does work, actually. G5 works even stronger now because his bishop now controls this diagonal. G5 wins a bishop. Fantastic. Snowpoint castles. But, thankfully, it's not over. Snowpoint, for some reason, plays bishop back. Once again, I have to wonder, did they pre-move that? Or something happened? Because that is not exactly a good move. Once again, if the bishop was still there, g5 wins a bishop. Furthering that, if this trades off one of these pieces by force. But what do I know about chess, huh? g5? I mean, I suppose there's a fork first. King here. Queen takes. How is white able to conjure up counterplay here? Yeah, that works too. What, en passant? Oh no! I see exactly how white makes counterplay. Takes? There is a mate in one threat. Kazuma could win this game if Snowpoint does not defend against the mate in one threat. Oh my god. Okay. The JG with the black pieces against Meryl with the white pieces. Gonna see, is it e4, is it d4, is it c4, is it knight f3, is it g3, is it b3? It's e4 first. There's a few moves you can play here. c6, e6, d6, g6. There's a lot of moves you can play. We find e5, the most principled response. Most common, remember, bring your knights before your bishops. Knight f3 attacks the pawn. There's two common ways to play against it. The Philidor, not as good, because the immediate d4 is quite strong. Knight c6. Tried and true. But JG plays the Petrov. The Petrov defense immediately puts a counterattack here, and if takes, there is also ability to play the Stafford Gambit, where black gives up the central pawn, but gives a very strong attack on the weak f2 square. But knight c3, knight c6, we seem to be in a 4-knight transposition. Here, there's some moves. The Italian variation, the Spanish variation, 4-knight Scotch. Plenty of moves here. Well, taking a think, finally plays bishop c4. The Italian variation, most common is this, which is actually, interestingly, not exactly a great move because there is knight g5 looking for a fried liver. Knight g5, a very strong move. And it can't be mirrored because on this end, the queen sees the g4 square. Let's see, does Mira find knight g5 with this devious double attack? No, instead, d4, d6. That almost looked pre-moved by JG. That hangs a bishop. Free bishop giveaway. We're going to see if there's going to be a take back there. Now there's a 4. That's nice. But in fact, the fork doesn't work. There's enough defenders. Knight takes, if knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes, and it is white who is fine after all the trades. Yeah, and Mira calculates all of that. Probably, at least, realizes that this is fine. Probably. And in fact, there's a devious move g4 after that. Looking to deflect this knight away, which leads to queen here and mate. But here, f3, making a solid structure, defending e4 one more time. Bishop has to go back somewhere. Probably h5 kind of gets kicked around a bit. I'm not certain I like that. Either way, Mira can be completely winning taking the knight. Structurally, after this, there's a weakness on the light squares, and if castle's short, then this could be a huge attack. By throwing the pawns forward, f3 is a very multi-purpose move. Knight bd5. Oh, knight db5 rather. bd5 would not work. Queen d7. Again, this move is a bit of a nothing move. Honestly, castling is fine. But Queen d7 is played. Here there's a couple moves. There's this, which looks appealing to me. Queen d2 is fine as well. We'll see, we'll see. Long castles is a move as well. And we just see castles. The thing is, regarding castles and short and long castles and the times to use it versus the times not to, you should ideally castle opposite sides of your opponent if you want to launch an attack. So in this case, I would just take that pawn. Look at how many times it's attacked. It's only defended 3 times. You can take that pawn, be done with it. Which knight isn't free? Yeah, and so here, black loses a pawn. Knight e5. Attacking here. There has to be some sort of venom somewhere in this position. This is an interesting idea. So we'll see very soon how the response is. I would not mind just seeing knight takes bishop. But in fact, it is knight takes pawn that is played. I mean, pawn takes here looks fine. But Mera finds d6 instead. So the reason that that doesn't work is if here pawn takes, here there's queen takes at the end of the sequence. Always calculate one move further. It's good that you spotted it, but unfortunately the queen does exist. But d6 was played instead. There's some things to be careful of here. But okay, so this hangs this, but more importantly, there is this, which is dangerous because here, if the rook moves, there's a knight takes with check. And in fact, is that mate? That may be mate. Oh, the match is gone. Snowpoint blundered mate in 1. Board played a masterful endgame against Kit after blundering his rook in the corner after queen h5. But okay, that's a rook blunder. Very nice. And this mate is still unstoppable unless you sacrifice... Actually, no, you can sacrifice the queen and it's still unstoppable. This mate is unstoppable. JG will not be spending the night on the couch, as it is in fact Meryl who takes the win there. Are you and XTY ready for yours? Because I know that Hayden is currently in a League of Legends game. I'm back, says Molnir. I can play today. And you. Let's see. It's looking like Yellow Jello XTY. Not yet. Still in match. Okay, all good. In that case, we'll see if Molnir Double Jinx is able to play. Do I have Jinx on Steam? No, I don't. Oh, wait, I do. Hop on for your match against Molnir. No more Genshin. Oh, fuck. Okay, so let's see. Double Jinx is here. He's got a mow in 30 minutes. Yes, now. Double Jinx does have to commit the lawn mow. Let's see if Molneo would instead prefer in an hour and a half at 6 p.m. when the stream will be done. Today is 38 degrees, I feel for him. At the very least, he can mow the lawn and walk through the sprinkler system. That'll be nice. Albert make the game. These guys don't know how to make a game. Yeah, it's rough. It sucks. Mega monkey cock. Alright. Jinx makes a 10+3 game. Alright. For the sake of Jinx, play a friend. Standard, real time, 10-10. Ain't that hard. Alright, Molneo with the white pieces. Let's see. Will he start with e4? He does start with e4. I expect Jinx to play e5. Hey, Kazuma. Oh, Jinx is playing the French defense. He's immediately looking to play what he studied in the last hour or so. Most principled move, d4, meeting d5. But instead there's this, and this is dangerous already for white. After d5, Jinx is already doing quite well here in this position. He's looking to just take this. If pawn takes, white can't castle anymore. Jinx is already very happy in this position. Yeah, and he finds it. Honestly, this... You can't really afford to gambit that pawn. Not into this. Not when b6 is a move that can be played afterwards. Normally, the light squared bishop in the French defense is considered the bad bishop, also known as the French bishop. But, yeah. Queen takes queen. Positionally speaking, black is doing very well. Queen takes queen, queen, and king takes queen. It's looking very good. Yeah, very principled move there. Could play this. Again, aiming at a weak square. I'm not so certain I like bishop d6. This walks into a fork. But we'll see if Molnir sees the fork. He does not. Oh, there's a way to get out of it. Might F to D. Once again, there's this move. It's Hayden after this, and then you guys can play X, and then you and X2I can play. Just in case for some reason there's some magic that happens. It's Hayden mid-side, so it's going to be exciting. The manual castles. League of Legends. No more League of Legends. But in fact, it doesn't work anymore because takes comes with check against the king. You have to be cerebral always about checks. That's why I say to everyone, always look for checks, captures, and attacks. This no longer works. Bishop takes pawn. And it's been found. I'm not so certain I like that move. I think that much more reasonable would have been to play Bishop block. But and this undeveloping move, not certain I like that either. Definitely not the kind of move I'm looking to see. Yeah, black's pieces are asleep. The king is, one of the most advanced pieces, and that is not something you want to see. Why are rows 4 and 5 empty? That is a great question. No one will know why the 4th and 5th rank are empty. And indeed, it is actually Jinx who is up a pawn. Yeah, I would just like to see, maybe Bishop G5. There we are. As expected. You can look to trade off the knight for bishop if you'd like. However, it's also a move that allows rook to d1, which is very, very nice indeed. So we'll see how Jinx responds here. If you think that learning openings isn't worth it, if you're just copying the tutorial. Yes, yes. Openings, a big thing about openings is understanding the ideas behind it. That's why when I teach openings, I teach you things about key squares, key ideas, what your long-term prospects are in an opening. Because if you don't know about that sort of thing, you're just basically looking at special things happening. Might as well not be studying an opening at all, but just studying moves at that point. Hopefully this match doesn't take too long. Might miss our opportunity to play. What the fuck? We have a match in 15? What is... How? Same tourney. Did you say... Let's see. What did you send me last night? I don't know what you sent me last night. You didn't send me anything last night. I have no DMs. I have no DMs from you, Jello. Yeah, I mean, that's completely fair. And I mean, if you don't need to know the names of openings, but just learning about key ideas for like universally good ideas in chess. Things like move the bishop as far as you can, where it makes a reasonable attack. Things like move knights to the center to control the 4 key squares here. Getting your rooks to center lines after castling. If you're down in space, trade pieces. If you're up in space, try to conserve pieces. Wherever there's a queen, there's counterplay. So if you're down material, always, always, always keep your queen. This position looks sus. You're not wrong. If it starts cluttering, I should probably start trading. Only trade if you are the one that is down on space. If you're up on space, the more clutter there is, the better for you, because your opponent has less play. H5. Bit of a sus move there. En passant with the bishop. So true. Rook takes. He sacrifices the rook. For what exactly? Not too sure. Just got ref pings, that's fine. That's fine, don't worry. But both kings do be hanging out in the center. I mean, white can't castle, but... E1 looking giga exposed? Yeah, when the king is in the center, you look to blow up the center, but unfortunately, yeah, the center can't be blown up. Does this chess game have Il Vaticano enabled? Unfortunately, this is Chess 1.0. This is before Chess 1.1, which patched in Il Vaticano. H4. It's definitely a move. Let me tell you, these king moves are something. Rentai redeemed stretch. Okay. Let me stretch 1 second. Oh, there we go. If you don't stretch, you die. True. So true. And so d5. Quite an aggressive stance there. d5 would have been instantly molested in patch 1.1. Well, unfortunately, the bishops are not here and here. So, not quite so, or rather, the bishops aren't here and here. So Il Vaticano swapping your light squared bishop for your dark squared bishop and your dark squared bishop for your light squared bishop. Il Vaticano can only work when there is 2 spaces, much like en passant, when there is 2 spaces. Yeah, real rook fork. Yep, rook. The rook. Yep. Rentai, you are so intelligent beyond your years. G3! Dear diary, today I saw a move that does absolutely nothing. Rentai, you can go to sleep. You've already played your match. Looking to take this pawn. Or this pawn, but this is defended by that, so don't take that pawn. Take this pawn instead. Yeah, you can take the rook. But do either of them see it? No. No. And Jinx immediately moves his hanging rook. Well done. Jesus fuck. Why? You moved your king there to defend, and then you just moved your king back. Whoop. What? There's this move. Not mate, because the rook's here, but... You can win back some material. I wouldn't trade off these bishops though, but... knight d5, if pawn takes, there is this check, but then this is taken. Attacks this knight. Interesting move here. You don't have to defend the knight because you can go look for that. This is also a move. Attacks this, forces this trade basically. Bishop back, and there's a fork. Wow. Double Jinx completely winning against Molnea. The question is he a closer? See, that would work, Hayden, if after this wasn't a check. But here, now looking for this can take back. No, I think Jinx has evidently just chosen to play into Molnea quite well today. Yeah, he had a very, very nice position out of the opening from the French defense. Here, there's a few ways to play it. Yeah, give a check. There was also this move, looking to gobble up all the pawns. Was this move, actually, to consider attacking this pawn again? Could take and then play that, and then that would be completely winning. If bishop takes this, then... Is there a funny fork? No, there isn't. That doesn't work. Never mind. But yeah, this knight has to go somewhere. Goes back this way. And now... Yeah, there was this, but there was a check first, and then that saves both the rooks. Always look for checks. Would Jinx find that? Maybe. But Molnay has 1 minute left on the clock. And do you think he sees this fork? I mean, with how Jinx has been playing this game, I reckon he'd find it. Big and true, Jello. Big and true. Oh! And unfortunately, that drops a rook. If bishop takes, then you can actually do a lot of things there. You can sacrifice the rook first and foremost. But here, well, there's a few ways. You have to be careful about pushing this pawn. You could probably sacrifice the other rook. It's probably not worth sacrificing, though. 94 might have worked? No. Black is up too much material. 94 is a good try, but black has ways to disentangle. I'm not certain about this move. That just hangs a rook very confidently, but... What? Maybe. So rook c8 is a move here. There's the same colored bishop endgame, but one guy has 3 pawns on the other guy. Bully Molnay will choose to bring his king, king d1, king e2, pick up the pawn. Basic endgame theory, come on, man. Fan-fucking-tastic. Maybe Molnay is the kind of guy that gets like pressure makes diamonds, except it's chess, and only when it's 1 minute chess. b5. a3 is a fair move. Prevents b4. e5. That just allows king e2. Or bishop b7, that works too. Yeah, bishop b7 is good for white. Here you just take the pawn. Bishop a6. Why? You don't want to trade when you're down material. Black bishop c6 earlier for a trade. Maybe. But yeah. Yeah, and here they have to play knight takes. Or not. That works too. Queen is made. There's not many ways to defend this. Well, they can try. Rook d8 is a move. I mean, yeah, it's hmm. Hmm. Well, now just blunders a queen, which is nice. Big fan of that. Yeah. I'm not certain that queen e2 was made, but so this is a bit unneat. There's a bishop. Uh, Bishop takes pawn. Jinx with the mind break. What will he do? Or not. Attacks this pawn. It's definitely a move. Okay, I'm not certain what bishop a6 is supposed to do. Because it can't play that. That would have been bishop back to g2. But Jinx has voluntarily undeveloped his king in the endgame. And now this pawn is no longer free. g6. g6. You can start moving the rook again. Got the pawn or 5. There's he plays f4. Three pawn giveaway. They're both down to under a minute actually, which I think is incredible. So this is looking for this, I suppose. But Yamonea plays this, defending against this. There's this, but then this, even this works. Rook f3? So rook f3 is a move, but no matter what, how you liquidate, it doesn't particularly matter. So like rook f3, there's even bishop g2, and you pick up this pawn. So rook g1 is played instead, which is definitely a move. Bishop h3 played with 9 seconds on the clock. Here there is knight back to d1. But knight e4 is played instead. That comes with check. You have to be very careful, Molnir. You have to play this. You cannot play this. Or I suppose you can play that. Yeah, because if this, you can't block with the knight, but you have king g2. Ah, but this covers, and this is a bit dubious. This outside passer is going to become another queen. Or will it? or will it? And you can play this. If here, then you can just move up and down the diagonal. Whatever you do, do not ever bring your bishop here. And then for as far as the rook moves, you can bring the knight in as well. You can do this, forcing it to move forward. You don't want to go too close to the king, but something like this, or this. Even this works, actually. Does it? Yes, it does. Because you either sacrifice and you... It seems that Molnea has made a fortress. Here, here, here. Or not. And we're going to get a threefold repetition. And Molnea is perhaps the only person in this tournament who once again manages to pull off the impossible. As we get into a threefold repetition at the end there. Alright. I assume that Yellow, Jello, and XTY are currently in their tournament match. So this calls for Heidosu midside. I'll ping them both. Heidosu at midside. Hayden with the white pieces. Midside. That's the black pieces. Let's see what kind of game we can get from here. You know, Molnea is a lot like the Grandmasters. He manages to always draw his games when he is in a losing position. Rule by repetition was a thing. It's called threefold repetition. There's also the 30 move rule, where if you don't make a capture or a pawn move in 50 moves, it's a forced stalemate as well. That's why the knight and bishop checkmate is considered the hardest checkmate to make, because despite it being a forced checkmate in 23, I believe, at the very least, it's still hard. And a lot of people do not know how to do it. But Heidosu versus midside. Clash of the Titans. Hayden begins with d4. Let's see, does midside start with any of the classical responses? There's a lot of responses. Knight f6, the most challenging after c4, e6, or g6, or b6 are all known moves. And d5 immediately. Knight c3, e6 or c6 will transpose into well-known theory, either the Slav defense or the Queen's Gambit declined. Knight c6, this is known as the Chigorin defense. This is not the critical move. Here, he just gets some development. If e6, this has been played before. This is known territory, but it's known to be slightly worse for black because the c-pawn has to go in front of the knight there. So we'll see bishop g4 before e6, and if h3 takes is not actually that bad for black. Alternatively, h3, you can play bishop back. There's lots of ideas in this position. I've studied this so many times. This is what I play in tournaments myself. I've played many games as white. Hayden, taking a think already, maybe not the best thing. e3 is also a move in this position. But it does lock away this bishop, so it's not considered best. h3, Bishop g5, bishop f4, pawn takes, all unknown moves. Bishop f4 played. If takes, there's actually a really interesting idea here where instead of e takes, you play g takes, and you bring your bishop onto this diagonal and you castle long, playing king b1 because the light squared bishop is gone. So we'll see what midside plays here. Again, e6. Critical move. But bishop h5, perhaps a bit... Yeah, exactly. Perhaps a bit... Midside offering a draw here to Hayden. Hayden should know that he's better in this position. My guide to you, Jinx, is bring in your king in the endgame. Your king is the most powerful piece in the endgame. Now, Monet, you had made a defensive fortress against the rook in the pawn. There was bishop a6, or rather bishop a3, and then after something like rook b3, it was interesting because the rook could force the bishop to move, and then you'd have to sacrifice, and I'm not so certain that it's a fortress after that. Knight e5 instead is played, immediately looking to trade off this knight. I'm not such a big fan of this. There's definitely moves I like more than this, at the very least. When is your next match, Jinx? Tomorrow. Not tomorrow, sorry, next Friday. So here we see midside thinking a ton. What happens after Swiss stage? It's just a Swiss tournament. There's no bracket. If the queen takes d4... Again, e6? So Swiss doesn't quite work like that. It only matches people that you have not... So it matches against people you have not played before with most similar KD. Or win-loss, rather, not KD. Okay, pawn takes pawn after knight g4. b6 here. Hayden is up a piece. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I would just trade off this, and I would be in a very happy place. You could play bishop here. Look at all this congestion of pieces, so difficult. Just take the pawn. Or you could play bishop e2, castles, be a happy man. I mean, this is just completely winning for Hayden. Wow, bishop e2, crazy. And queen h4. Obviously, if castles... Actually, that doesn't even work. You can still play castles. This bishop is busy eyeing the h2 square. Okay, castles is played. Hayden taking his sweet time there. I don't dislike it though. Midside doesn't see the fact that the bishop is there. Could have taken the bishop instead, but it doesn't really matter. Midside's down the queen. Here, there's a check. And the check is found. And now the king cannot castle. If he moves here, it's not mate, surprisingly. Either way, Hayden picks up a bishop as well at the end of the sequence. He does lose a knight for it though, so maybe if here, then there's mate in a 1. If here, check picks up this bishop instead. If here, this here, any way to cover that square? Not really. So here, as we said, we've calculated this to here. If here takes the bishop. Hayden completely winning here. I'm trying to find ways that Hayden can sacrifice the queen at this point, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, King's doing the pilgrimage tech, but this time he's much like the trying to think of a biblical king that was removed from power. There's a lot of those. You can play this. That works too. I was thinking that because it gives a check and your queen comes back into the game. Okay, well now this looks good. There's also this. That's okay. Hayden could make a mating net here. He brings his king up. Yeah, I think to trade the king for the knight. True. King takes e5. Very legal move. Did you know that in tournaments, if you make an illegal move, a lot of the time, if the arbiter is called, because you can actually play on from an illegal position, if the arbiter is called, then you actually get extra time. But in some tournaments, illegal moves make you forfeit if it's called. For example, there was this game where Carlsen's opponent played an illegal move, and he didn't call the arbiter. So Carlsen played an illegal move as well, and then the arbiter was called and Carlsen lost the game. You make a move after the illegal, much like fake positions in chess games, all you have to do is trace back to show where you were at the point in time where the move was illegal, and then you'll be able to claim the illegal move. But it all depends on who claims it fast. But mid-side thinking a lot here. Attacks the queen. Queen d5 is a move. It's also queen takes a7. Simplest way, just winning the pawn. Rook b8. Definitely a move, but after something like knight to d7, the pawn falls anyway. I mean, there's so many ways to win here for Hayden. You can literally just push pawns and it wins. Rook a8 drops the pawn. I don't think Hayden stalemates these. At least I pray to God that he doesn't. There's a move here, knight b6. And Hayden can get 2 rooks for the queen. And he'll probably be happy with that. As I am so tired. Knight b5. Activating another piece, probably wants to move it onto d6. I'd like to still see the king move in, but yeah, rook a5. There's a few moves here. There an unstoppable queensmate here? Maybe. Look at the geometry of these knights. Attacks 4 squares around the queen. The queen, of course, defends its own diagonals, and rooks cannot move diagonally. Pretty crazy. Queen b6. There's, look, everything wins here. Queen b6, there's rook here, I suppose, but it doesn't matter. King h6, I think. Knight here, queen here, looks good. Rook fc1, it doesn't really matter what he brings as long as he brings something, and this is the sort of match that I like to see. Hayden takes his time in the opening, plays a solid opening, punishes midside as soon as he gets too aggressive, and just converts the advantage. He's up 20 points of material in this endgame. That cannot be a good move. I mean, of course there's rook c8, but... And in fact, does rook c8? No, you have to play rook c8. I mean, it's... Again, Hayden is plus 20. He could have a stroke and die, and he would still be winning. Like, we could resurrect Paul Morphy here, and he would still probably be winning. Yeah, Molnea's 1 minute power spike is terrifying. It's like Molnea with 1 minute on the clock is like when the Yasuo goes 0-12 and finally has 2 items. 100% crit chance. The world ends. Shield bow and Infinity Edge. Molnea gets that extra crit damage. King G5. Interesting move. Hayden is now up 25 points of material and can just push his pawn. Soon he will be up 29 points of material. Well, Hayden could probably make more than a couple queens. Instead, he trades rooks. Look, if you want to comb through the VODs, I'm happy for someone to do that. I'm just not going to be doing it. There are stalemate potentials here, but midside has 4 pawns that can move. And more importantly, Hayden has about 20 ways to win. He finds a very nice checkmate there. Look at that, mate. He also had it earlier, but that's okay. And bots don't get killed until a month has passed, right? Probably. I mean, I just published them. So, yeah, Hayden kind of slaughtered midside there, but that's okay. Now, Bijan Train Jumper.